kind of going after.
Yeah, Nintendo's a similar jungler for me to like NK Inc. because whenever I watch either of those teams play,
that's a good point.
I'm always wondering what jungler they're going to pick now because they are the ones that vary
What's
the most.
behind door number 2? Rise going out. Sona as well. A lot of Lulu and Sona being played in these past matchups between these guys here. Riven and Tryndamere.
Yeah, look at these Zion bands. These are Zion bands
lane
over
focus.
here. 100% Zion bands because they would much rather shove him onto more of a utility-oriented top laner. Every time that Coast, when they have Zion on a carry top laner, like a Riven or a Tryndamere, that's when they have the highest win percentage. When he's actually put onto one of the more utility-based top laners, then the opponents have a better chance, and that's why Vulcun are banning out these specific champions.
And as we look at Coast ban, are they anything in particular into banning out what a Miz Ezreal composition would run?
I mean, mid Ezreal or even jungle Ezreal, it's still not. I mean, unless the Ezreal is an AD, right. I don't think it's it doesn't seem that specific.
We'll see what Zion chooses for the top lane. These guys always love to hover, hang out on their favorite champions. Freak would be proud right now, watching his Teemo get a smile on the screen. And you can see, even with that book, there is still multitudes of communication going on between these guys during the picks, even with that book in hand. So it's not the set in stone. It's definitely an adaptation of what can happen, or as they adapt.
It seems like they're just doing hyper. Okay, so there you go. It's going to be the Ezreal, and it could always be either a jungle or a mid lane Ezreal, because like I said, Nintendo, very similar to NK Inc., who ran the jungle Ezreal. He actually came up with the jungle Ezreal split pushing strategy. So it could either be jungle or solo here.
And Vulcun was one to say, we gave them 2 globals. Let's take 2 globals. So now they get it on their team. They don't want to deal with it. They're dealing with it. Yeah,
they definitely want to be the ones in control of those. And they actually talked about one of the reasons why Vulcun underestimated Velocity and gave them both those globals is because in Vulcan's previous game, when Vulcun had the Shen and the Twisted Fate against TSM, they couldn't finish it out, even or against Cloud9.
Cloud9, yeah.
Cloud9, they couldn't finish it out. And so they felt like Velocity would make that mistake too, but they didn't. So now it's round 2. Vulcun are going to go back to that Shen and Twisted Fate, see if they can make it work this time.
And finally, Nintendo actually gets that Elise back. Zion getting so much focus in the top lane allows that to happen. So they are getting picks that would be towards the top tier. Shifter does have a champion pool we haven't seen quite a bit of yet. We heard him talking about the Diana earlier. He's played Ahri before, and pretty damn good AP mid on that roundabout of, I think, 5 or 6 deep champions that he could play in mid.
Yeah, so you brought up the mid Ezreal possibility,
right?
But after the lock-in on Ahri, I think that that's much more of a shifter champion. So regardless, you know, Ezreal does do fine against Twisted Fate, but I'm pretty sure he is going to be in the bottom with that Thresh.
Do they do this? Zion has played the Elise as we look over towards the side of Vulcun. We'll see what switches get put there.
Do they do this?
The Thresh is going to be good. Will they put, I'm thinking Zion on the Lee. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Zion's going to be Lee because very similar champion to all of the fighters that were banned out by Vulcun. They banned out the Riven, they banned out the Tryndamere, and even the Zed. So was probably going to be Zion going to his Hydra Rush Lee Sin. And the reason for that, I can see I got some more questions in here, in that brain right there, is because he gets such good lane control because of the easy wave clear that he has and all the dashes that Lee Sin has with his kit. If he has a Hydra and a Sightstone, he is a split-pushing menace. He can instantly destroy a wave, and then he always has escapes because he can continually put down those wards for safeguarding.
And we do see the patented Taster's Choice bottom lane coming in for the past few weeks here in Cloud9. The Ashe, Zyra bottom. The best AD carry initiation in the game, says Lemon Nation, and it pretty much is for the Enchanted Crystal Arrow and the Disengage coming in from Zyra.
So Vulcun are just piling it all on right here. Yeah, yes, 2 globals plus a late game engage with that Crystal Arrow plus the best disengage with the Zyra ultimate. They feel like they have most of the bases covered, even bringing in the new jungle to have that extra early control of the double buffs. So Vulcun right now have so many options with this game that they can go with. It's very scary here for Coast. As we only have about 10 seconds left for that switch for the Zion and Nintendo switch here, so it might actually be a Zion, a Lee Sin, and an actual Lee Sin from Nintendo instead.
So what is your focus in a game like this when it's not just TF that's going to be a big deal when he hits 6? It's also that Shen in the top lane. How do you guard those lanes? Where do you focus as a jungler or anybody?
As a jungler for Team Coast, you do not go down to that bottom lane after either Twisted Fate or Shen are 6, because not only is a Zyra Ashe lane just bring to the table so much crowd control already, but if either of those solo laners join the party, you're going to have a terrible time in that bottom lane.
Not a good day.
You do not want to gank that lane. You 100% focus your efforts on keeping down Twisted Fate and keeping down Shen. You go to the source of the global. You don't go to the Ashe or the Zyra, because they will definitely make
the purpose of it. Make everybody come there. We'll have to see now. Game 3 here. It's going to be the last one for myself and Kobe on the day before Jat and Quickshot take over. It's going to be a good one. Vulcun versus Coast. That second place Vulcun looking to keep their spot and chase onto that Cloud9 as Coast looking to once again climb the ladder just like the Summer Split, make their way into that playoff spot.
Now, talking again about the Ashe-Zyra combo, one of the most interesting parts about that Cloud9, the way that they played it for me, was the fact that they did not spend a lot of money on wards. Lemon Nation on Zyra would mostly rely on seeds and then the Ashe Hawkshot for their vision in their lane. And it saved him a lot of gold on that support. So he got off to a very beefy support build with that Zyra and was actually able to add a lot of damage on it. So I have to see what sort of route this combo goes with for their later game vision. Already, though, he started out with a bunch of wards.
That was really great consideration on Zuna. Sometimes being the last one in the pack, even if you're with a party of people, is the most dangerous spot because the ward saw the first person. Everybody's been moving by the time you're the last person on the ward. So Zuna almost getting first blooded there, but playing very smart.
And the vision advantage still goes to Vulcun, even though their blue buff ward gets taken out, because they made Coast spend that pink ward to get that back. And it doesn't really matter since they know that Lee Sin's starting that side anyway. Vulcun
loves early game aggression against the wards going down towards the red bus. Nintendo and Xmithy seeing each other. And right now, Xmithy knows that that top side is not warded. Coast has been quite thwarted on their efforts to get vision.
One thing that I love about Nunu is that you don't have to be the one invading. You just being on the team, you bring that pressure to the buff starts. So what they almost did there for Vulcun is have the support and AD carry steal away the red, while Nunu can solo a buff. So they could have Nunu just doing the blue by himself. But since they saw the members of Coast coming in to check red, they had to pull out and abort, call abort on that plan.
Very interesting strategy there. It seemed like Zuna and Bloodwater were both staying high towards the mid side as if they wanted to see what the lanes were actually going to be. Xmithy go quite low there. Everybody gets himself out. He'll be fine with that consume as he makes his way around the jungle.
The reason that he got so low there is because they were going with the plan of him soloing their own blue and then the dual lane stealing away the red like I talked about. But he still wanted to save his smite even though the plan had failed. And so that just barely got him through. If he was not Nunu, then he would not have been okay here. Uh-oh.
Xmithy, he's got that blue. Maybe he wants to eat the Wraith. He'll come back for this one, but this is definitely going to slow his jungle here. He actually can't decide what he wants.
He did not buy enough potions to do a normal clear here because he wanted to get that extra vision advantage from the ward. So this delay on him taking red is actually going to cost him huge because we've already had Nintendo take an extra camp ahead of him.
So as we saw him there kind of jockeying back and forth, what does that do for a jungler when they're trying to get the buffs?
Which one are you talking
Nunu
about?
was jumping back and forth.
Oh, he was waiting because he didn't have the cooldowns to take the red buff. You have to have your consume up when you're that low life. So he was just waiting right there and delaying because he had started the red a little bit too early and he didn't want to die to it because of the lack of potions I was talking about.
Dodging out a few attacks by being tricky in the bush. Xmithy, more consumes for him, but he is looking grim right now, especially for the presence of what you would want from your jungler here around 3.5 minutes, kind of making presence in a lane. We're going to see that coming in from Nintendo X towards the top side in the 1v1 here.
He does get some good harass here. Daedream lands a hook, which he's definitely known for, but since Lee Sin is no longer in the vicinity, they cannot capitalize.
So 4 minutes in, both teams have figured out that it's a semi-aggressive game. Nobody's going too hard on either lane here. We have to remember about that level 6 pressure. There is Shifter going hard on the mandatory Cloud. I think he heard me off on the wing there. He says, you want some aggression? We'll get some aggression here.
And Nintendo also heard you going up for the top lane here. We might have the Smithy join, but since he's so low on life, he's going to have to get it off of the Golem up here before he makes his way up.
Well, a little, not miscommunication, but a little bit of too much distance.
There's no ward seeing him come in here, so...
Next Smithy leaves safety now. Looks like they're just going to back off. Smithy with the safety on the lane if they did choose, but Shifter still eyes on him in middle as ManCloud has already backed. Both going, yes, for the double Dorans. Usually you'll see that between the Ahri and the TF as they do kind of duke it out in mid.
Yeah, TF and Ahri matchup. What it is Twisted Fate always trying to shove that lane so that he can gain distance to be able to roam to a side lane and use his ultimate. And Ahri always looking for the kill potential on Twisted Fate. And this is, by the way, after they both hit 6, obviously. It will be Ahri looking for the solo kills, and it will be ManCloud on Twisted Fate just trying to shove the lane and make his roaming effective.
This is going to be very risky here for Coast. They're playing with hardly any wards bottom on that river. They only have one in the lane. Daydreamin's just sitting on potions right now, and they're actually trying for hooks, so they're trying to play that aggressive game as well and catch Vulcun off guard for the early part of the game. But with the Zyra, they're not getting anything. Nintendo in the jungle, same thing with Smithy, and I think this is the least we've seen of those two as junglers in any game.
And Nintendo really does have a timer on the amount of ganks that he can spend bottom. This is pretty much the last one he can do because of the experience of Twisted Fate and Shen. They are very close to their level 6s now, and so that danger he talked about in ganking the bottom lane will come soon. But it's not here now as he goes in and misses the Q.
Psycho Sid actually level 4 right now. Shifter getting hit up. He is going to have Smithy coming on the backside. The Ignite's there. It's going to be enough. Shifter flashes out. It's going to be one more flash for us. It's not going to be enough, though. He does get the auto attack in.
So that plays out pretty much how we talked about the level 6 Ahri versus Twisted Fate. As soon as Shifter hits 6, goes for the solo kill. And only because Smithy's there to back him up can Vulcun answer.
Nintendo to show himself and soak up mid. Psycho Sid trying to get 6 ASAP right now as he pushes this wave as Shen, trying to get as many attacks down as he can, and despite the damage traded from Zion.
And that trade that we see, giving up first blood for an assisted kill response, is something that we see a lot. So even though Coast, we had Shifter getting first blood, he got more money obviously because it was first blood, but because Mandatory Cloud's kill was assisted, or Smithy's kill was assisted, they at least get the extra 50% gold.
Yep.
So it's a very close trade.
We'll have to see where that pressure continues actually for Smithy. The 1v1 in the top lane draws the Ignite out, and the Shen Ignite as well. So it's an aggressive Shen. One Psycho Sid looking to pick up kills here with that.
I love that the Ignite just the signal. Okay, everybody back off now. They're both at half-life, but once the fire breaks out, everybody runs for the hills.
Surprise. 7.5 onto this one. A 500 gold lead is the only thing that separates these teams, and that, going to see where that comes from. 39 a bit in the CS there, 55 in mid coming in from ManCloud, as well as 44 in the top lane with the assisted gold as well on top of the first, as opposed to the first blood. So it is equaling out to be that 500 more.
4 members to give over this blue buff to Mandatory Cloud is a little bit excessive, but since they have Nunu and they have pink wards, they roll this easily into Dragon. Now it's up to Nintendo to know the timing here, and the amount of time that the bottom lane for Vulcun has been missing should tip them off that Dragon is under attack.
Nick Smithy actually going fast for a Sightstone. Usually you only see this coming out on a Lee Sin. Same point, just to get vision here for a Nunu and really deny everything in the jungle.
Yeah, so Nunu, he's building into Nunu's kit. What he wants to be able to do is to counter jungle. And the only way to counter jungle is when you have information and the vision of your opponent jungler. So getting a Sightstone on Nunu, extremely common because he wants to push that advantage and place very deep wards inside the enemy jungle.
We'll see where his assistance goes next. We have that Shifter push. We have Shifter pushing the mid lane, as we said. Those Doran's rings would cause both of those lanes to just push consistently into the turrets. ManCloud has resorted to farming his wolves now, as that pressure is too great from Shifter.
He's farming wolves, and Nunu is giving red buff over to Psycho Sid so that he can duel better duel this Elise. They need Psycho Sid to keep his health up and trade well in this top lane so that he will have the option of using that Stand United. Because if Elise can get you low enough and harass you down to threaten your life, then that takes away the threat of the Shen Global, which is really the whole point of the champion.
A lot of those level 6s coming out now. The Stand United ready, as well as the Destiny. Everything's been a walk-up fight, though. We haven't seen those big initiations come in just yet as we come up on to 10 minutes.
And a lot of that is because I talked about the danger for Nintendo of ganking past the level 6 of Shen and past the level 6 of Twisted Fate. If he ganks a lane, he's going to have to combo it with someone else because 2 members of Vulcun can join the party.
He has indeed stayed away from that bottom lane.
Here it is, top.
Quick initiation on the Sid. He gets that down. Can the Sonic Wave hit? He goes for the safeguard first. The flash away. That's a pretty good Sonic Wave for a flash. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the ganks that he would be comfortable with because not focusing on the bottom lane, and Mandatory Cloud had been forced back in his lane by Shifter, by the threat of that kill potential. So he knew that Twisted Fate also was not in range to join.
And with that, you usually see this a lot too. The jungler came top and he disperses, which means you kind of bought yourself a window. Smithy trying to work with that right now and be super aggressive in this next moment. Bottom lane getting pressed out, no real aggression anywhere else, so Zion Spartan's about to have a party.
Yeah, Smithy really wants to make this one work. He spent so much time in this top lane instead of trying to counter jungle with the Nunu. So he's been losing a lot of time, and if they aren't able to pull off the gank on Zion, and they aren't able to make the answer, then it will be all futile.
It's going to be a hard gank. You have Repel, there's a damage miss on Flash Frost, but it's still slow come in from the absolute zero. Such a hard champion to gank, and Zion playing it aggressive as well himself in the right way.
So they do even up the flash count. Summoner spells now even up top, and the extra kill potential won't be there from Zion. So Smithy did a little bit of a job of alleviating that pressure, but Nintendo has done just the opposite here and got at MadCloud.
That was nice. Throws it over the left shoulder of that minion. I didn't think MadCloud thought he was going to get hit with that. So Shifter really using a little strategic positioning to get a quick health advantage in the lane. Dodging out wild cards. And Smithy now to help out mid here and adapt to what Coast has been trying to put on them.
I love that little trick, the fake out Lee Sin, a Sonic Wave follow-up. If you actually safeguard back to a minion or something before you land the follow-up resonating strike, then you don't do any damage, and it's just a little trick there. A little flashy move.
Looks good.
Looks good.
Everybody likes it. Nintendo going to clear his wraiths, but they're gone, so he will back. We see Mashmi, where is he at? 103 now to 84 against Zuna. So the lane has been a little bit more careful than they should be, I guess you could say. This lane is the one we usually see at the turret all the time, pressing very hard.
Well, we have to have Don't Mash Me and Daydream being cautious for the exact same reasons that Nintendo's got to be cautious. And it's really up to Zuna and Bloodwater to make the move.
He deals the cards right underneath. Oh, the Thresh Express is there, but it had a flat tire.
First global finally gets used there. MadCloud comes in, and he waits on it until they're sure they can grab the kill.
Flash is being blown everywhere on the map right now. In the past few minutes, this turret is going to go down. So they get safety out of the Flash and the turret.
MadCloud, because he left his mid turret, Shifter did the correct choice here, and he's actually trubbing it to try and answer back, but he doesn't quite have the time because Zyra is one of the supports with some very decent wave clear.
Smithy everywhere, being so omnipresent right now, and he's only got feet to run on. He's not flying through the air. That Blood Boil, he is using it to great extent to really... He's not been counter jungling as much. He's actually using it to snowball his lanes, for lack of a better term, no pun intended, and get everybody going.
Yeah, he did spend a lot of time up in that top lane, and we still have yet to see a Stand United from Psycho Sid.
Dragon was already taken out. They didn't need it for that. The press R composition here has just been used as a regular lane roam fight composition, so Vulcun hasn't even brought out the big guns yet. They're still getting themselves a pretty good lead here. 3,000 gold exactly at 14 minutes. The mid turret in their eyes here, and this will be the second outer tier turret if they can find it.
What they can continue to do is use not only the blue buff Twisted Fate wildcard spam, but also Ashe's Volley. She's very good at this one in the game for poking during tower sieges and also for wave clearing.
Just remember, you still have Shen to come in on this one. Psycho Sid still quite healthy in that top lane. He is actually... Oh, they go down. They throw down the yeah, I was going to say wild growth again, but I didn't. The Grasping Roots, Strangle Thorns, all of Zyra's spells getting thrown down in the combo. The turret, very, very low on this one. The gold card being held, so nobody's getting any closer to ManCloud. And Nintendo Dex and Xmithie, high five for the Wraiths.
Yeah, Bloodwater uses a huge zoning tool there, using the Strangle Thorns, and they got a few extra auto attacks off on the turret, but the Stand United is still available.
True shot barrage from the backside. The AoE is very well placed. One auto attack with the flash. Here comes the Stand United. Shifter's in a bad spot, but oh, it gets stopped up in the top lane with a cocoon. He's not able to make it, and Shifter gets the kill in the end. A turret shot onto ManCloud. The cards come out. The gold card is there. Xmithie is looking big, and Shifter does not want any of that grungy Nunu. Throws down the charm. A quick kiss for Xmithie, but the Blood Boil may be too much in the end.
This is going to be a long chase because Blood Boil Nunu's got the speed advantage, but Shifter has a blue buff.
Boom. There you go. Blue buff transfer incomplete. Execution secured.
He was able to at least deny the money from his kill too, but the experience still went to him.
Oh, the shield! He puts on fake. Can he get the kill? One last time. The auto attack from Keystrike, and the life from the Vorpal Blade health comes in. The cheeky smile from Sid.
Now, he used the repel to get out of one attack, but when you repel back down, he came on the backside of Shen, and he was closer to the cannon minion. Ooh. So he had a cannon minion shooting him in the back there as well. Here goes the dragon fight for the steal. We have the Resonating Strike available, but you can't steal from Nunu. That's really, really difficult.
That's kind of a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
Looking around, we do see that Nintendo Dex has his golem finished. We see a quick possible Deathfire Grasp coming out here for Ahri. It would synergize with that dive-in build that she has of burst damage. Blade of the Rune King, yeah, that is not a Blade of the Rune King, a Bloodthirster onto Ezreal rather, as he goes for that version of the blue build as well.
And we just saw Shifter's dive mentality. He was the one who started off that last middle team fight, and even though he did get off a good combo onto both Ashe and Zyra to get them low before it started, they still lost that team fight, even with interrupting Shen Stand United. So it's really looking dire for Coast here.
Ooh, right on the backside, the feathers of the arrow hit Daydreamin'. Xmithie getting off a nice absolute zero that zones the team but didn't do too much damage. The follow-up damage is big from Shifter. He is having a good game of positioning right now, able to thwart out a lot of these fights and make things go right.
Yeah, Bloodwater not able to protect the Ashe there, even with all of the disengage that she has. And since Stand United has such a long cooldown, no advantage from the top lane.
And I was going to say, before this fight went down, that this is kind of really the first time we've seen somebody build straight health against an Elise. Usually you see them kind of stack up armor before they do that, but he went Giant's Bout in the Sunfire Cape onto Shen.
Yeah, he does have decent magic resist, early Merc Treads too, with an extra magic mantle. So I'll do a little bit of a part. And Shen is a very team-oriented champion, so he's building really for the team fights there. And the Sunfire Cape to help constantly do damage to minion waves so he can push those out.
All right, core item rundown. Deathfire Grasp finished here on the side of Shifter. The Zhonya's has been onto ManCloud for a little bit now, and we may actually see him activate that here in a quick second. Sunfire Cave, as we said, onto Shen. The two-shot barrage missing. A huge burst of damage, but the 2v1 is grim. There's too much crowd control. He's waiting for it to go. Throws down the Zhonya's. It looks good. It looks real nice as he's on fire, but goes down in the end.
Oh, that doesn't look too good.
That's a shutdown,
he's
too.
Dead. That was very, very far for Mandatory Cloud to be solo pushing out right there. Even if with the Zhonya's and an ultimate available, he got caught with his pants down.
They always say if you want to shut down the global, you go to the source.
That's exactly what I said.
18 minutes on, 6-5 is the score, and a 5,000 gold lead on the mark coming in here for Vulcun, as it looks like they're on the back foot at this portion. Losing the mid turret, may lose the bottom turret, and a good pressure up top has kept Psycho Sid from being in these fights, so they're kind of getting pushed back here.
Yeah, well, whenever you take out the Twisted Fate threat, it opens up so much for Coast, and they're actually rewarded with that bottom turret, so Coast as well, not just grabbing the kill, but turning the kill into a global objective here.
Wow, you can see the consideration being put in here, maybe to synergize with a Nunu ultimate, or for now, with a Negatron cloak onto ManCloud. We'll see just how much it saves him here from the AoE, a magic damage, puts himself in the fight. A beautiful ultimate from Zyra coming in, the Orb of Deception, not able to clear the damage. It rocked him with the absolute zero, and the rest of the damage from Psycho Sid Sunfire Cape, picking up 2 there. Great plays by Vulcun.
That's what happens when the Shen United is not able to be interrupted. So it's what Vulcun are looking for. They have the guaranteed engage of that crystal arrow from Zuna, so they're looking to use that whenever their cooldowns are up for both the globals. So they can use all 3 of those to grab the team fight with the numbers in their favor.
Top lane Elise, Haunting Guise build coming in for her. Even more magic resistance being bought by Vulcun here. They know this mid game is extreme power coming in from Coast right now, and the Negatron cloaks are really what's going to be mitigating that.
I'm gonna have to worry about magic damage, but also the crits. No, the crits are gonna come from Ashe, so they don't have to worry about those. Ashe is on their team. Good job.
The Infinity Edge synergizing with that Ashe passive as it builds up. Zuna looking to do some big damage. And, you know, to also make a point for Vulcun here, Zuna, again, not on one of the super late game AD carries. He kind of, we saw him falter on some Caitlyn's. He likes his Zuna, or he likes his Zuna. Zuna likes Zuna. He likes his Kog'Maw. He likes his Tristana. We'll have to see how he does here. He's more of that initiation and follow-up damage instead of the, I'm going to win the fight.
Here's checking a bush, though. This is really going to be painful. He can't quite get to that minion line.
I think he's going to be able to push them off. A lot of pressure coming from Coast. But that means that Vulcun has vision, and they know that these fights are scary.
Right there. The wards right there just really saved the overextension from Smithy and Psycho Sid.
Coast trying to push down mid. Mashme focusing bottom lane, so they only have to focus on this mid. They don't want to really have any multitasking going on. It's going to be Psycho Sid to the fight first. They're kind of counting that cooldown right now, getting some damage onto Zion Spartan as those two go at it. The mid lane may try to find itself some aggression. Psycho could be calling that cocoon is down, and I'm about to have Stand United in the next 30.
Yeah, so this is really up to Coast timing the cooldowns for both globals from Vulcun, because Shen not having Stand United means the 4 vs 4 is really strong for Coast. They have a very high pick potential with Thresh and Ahri. If either one of those can land either the Charm or the Death Sentence, then the burst damage can easily take out a single target from this 4-man Vulcun squad that's at mid.
It looks like Vulcun is trying to dictate what happens in the dance here. They're saying if we put everybody mid, we're going to draw them down. They do not have a chance to do anything, but without enough vision or seeing the vision they didn't want to see, they start to back off.
10 seconds on Stand United.
Oh, they lock him in. Bloodwater gets caught. He's going to be able to put down a great ulti here. ManCloud, a very early Zhonya's without any focus there. And it looks like everybody just waltzes out of this one. Quite a bit used for the initiation. ManCloud throws down their destiny. They take down Shifter. That's the burst of damage they need in this fight right now. Zion Spartan puts himself right in the middle. They could turn this one around, but no. Beautiful focus coming in from Vulcun. The ward before that told them not to fight allowed them to get another kill, and they're just going to hold this out.
And the Stand United there, the last few seconds did come off in time to save Mandatory Cloud, so everything worked out for Vulcun. Wow. We're talking about Ashe not being a normal late game carry for Zuna. Ashe is a late game carry in a different sense,
right? In
that late game, most important are hard engages and the team fighting ability with your positions, which Ashe gives you a huge bonus in, and we can see right there, able to lock down the squishy.
Third Dragon coming in for Vulcun, purely taking that for themselves throughout this game. 11-5 is the score, a 7,000 gold lead, well 6,000 gold lead as that's Coast hitting 30,000. But at 22 minutes in, quite a good lead here coming in. They're down in turrets though, so
and Zuna's got no vision. Zuna again with the positioning.
Yeah, he is going to be like, guys, I'm out. You can see him kind of staring at his screen. He plays it calm, lets his team know. That's a bit of a mistake.
Wonder if he even notices that they don't have any wards. He's looking so close at the screen, maybe he can't see the mini-map. Oh, Zion's going in on ManCloud.
Gets executed on there. The Ignite goes down quite early, so it's not going to be the finishing kill. It's going to be the Volatile Spider to come out. No, he's going to go for the Q.
Oh,
the Q! What are you doing? The finger fumble, Rooski!
He queued the minion, Zion! Oh, that's very disappointing.
His teacher's going to give him suspension for that one. No. 23 minutes onto this.
Even in detention, they call him Zion Spartan.
We're going to see the red buff going to Psycho Sid here, I guess. Looks like he's going to continue himself on the split push and allowing him to do that quite well with the red buff. Zion Spartan getting the Q down into the minions, making sure it doesn't happen again.
He's got another one there. Now he's getting gold for it at least.
ManCloud clearing the bottom wave. There's still a good amount of pressure onto Vulcun for as much as they're dictating these fights. The map has not been in their favor.
And one of the interesting things that they're doing to sort of secure that pressure on the map is continually feeding this red buff to Shen, Psycho Sid, with that extra slow and burn damage, is the extra little edge that he needs to keep Zion from dominating that lane, and it makes him have the threat of chasing people down for a kill if they get too far from the turret. And the reason they're able to do that is because Ashe has built-in slow with her Frost Arrow, so she doesn't need that Lizard buff.
I like the Shen build as well. Going for a little bit of magic penetration as well in the runes. The Sunfire Cape doing a bit more. Getting all that to lock in some more damage. And his split
Shen's
push
a lot of
effective.
magic damage. Most of his damage coming from the kit is magic. So.
Yep. Getting a little bit more, and their key strikes blasting through. ManCloud pushing in mid here with Zuna as they start to bring everything up to kind of a reset position where they figure out where everyone is. 25 minutes in. We'll see who can... Oh, I was going to say, that was going to be scary if there was initiation from Zyra grasping roots, but nothing comes in. Both teams playing with their hard hats on right now as they're kind of worried about what happens with the few core items being finished. Oh, man, it's Smithy.
Very dangerous for Coast right here. The Stand United's up, and so is the Destiny.
Kicked back, he went to throw the ultimate again! Another arrow hits! Zuna going 4 for 4, 5 for 5 on these guys. The Zyra ulti popping almost everyone up. They're still trying to engage. Mash Me on the back line, get some good shots in. Shifter throws down the ultimate, but the AoE is only hitting Psycho Sid right now. And the magic resistance that they built earlier is keeping them alive through multiple spell reels in this fight. Zuna finally able to get focused on the backside of the fight. Mash Me has kept that positioning for the same time and has now found focus. Throws it down. Almost gets it. The burn coming in the shutdown to Zyra. Smithy's going to consume and make his way out. But wait, the chase coming in from Mash Me. He's very low right now. The Bloodthirster's there to keep him good. He has he's got the gauntlet. He slows him. He takes it. Buff transfer complete.
Blue buff is Don't Mash Me. He's able to claim it. So they did get all the buffs off of that last fight too. It was a beautiful job by Coast baiting out the early Stand United onto Nunu, which is a very low priority target. Shen using that Stand United very early meant that there was no shield for Mandatory Cloud after he teleported in and used his Zanya's early. So they were able to take him out first in the team fight. And from there, Coast were able to do a good job kiting backwards, which is how you play your team fights when you have a blue Ezreal plus an Ahri.
And they got such an advantage fighting right in that choke point, able to throw all their long range over the wall. Mash Me just hung out on the back side of that, and I don't think Vulcan's going to position themselves like that again. Both teams learned quite a bit out of that fight, Kobe, and that's the one I was saying. With these few core items built, you could see just how much they were unsure of what everybody could do. That was a pretty long fight. 14-11 is the score after that brawl towards the bottom lane and near Coast base. 4-2 in turrets as Coast is still racking up those turrets, making sure something happens after the fight or when they can.
And now, with Zion, no teleport, pushing bottom, they actually have to second guess themselves and start worrying about their vision control of Baron. Because Vulcun are the ones with Nunu on their team, so they have the control over that one.
Just a little bit. He likes to eat. 27 minutes on the clock. Making sure that they have their blue buff coming up, or they're actually questioning when is the timer, do we know? Make sure that that fight is even more in our favor. Flash is down for just about everybody on the side of Coast right now except for Daydreamin', so we make an initiation there, and flashes are up for Vulcan here, so it could be a pretty scary fight in their ability to kite this time.
Yeah, even though Vulcan are ahead right now and they have all of their globals available, they're probably tensing up a little bit. They're getting a little bit stressed because
wouldn't doubt it.
They're having flashbacks to their last game where they had Shen and Twisted Fate against Cloud9, and they fumbled it at the end. They were not able to finish it out.
Coast again taking control of the mid lane. You can see Vulcan backing off. They don't want anything, at least until they have a turret here. A lot of power coming from this Coast team. Finished up checking the man immune right now at 492 out of 750 for Mash Me. So again, it's actually going longer than that 25-minute mark. That was grabbed a little bit later, and with that slow charge, he's going to get that burst of damage when they actually really need it.
And they're going to need it pretty soon here because Team Coast, the clock is working against them. Shen split pushing means that they need to either go send someone to deal with him or pull off a hard engage. And all of Coast's hard engage are skill shot CC lockdowns. They have to land either that cocoon, the charm, or the death sentence to get one of the team fights started.
Psycho Sid becoming an absolute monster right now. Got his magic resistance and his HP and armor. He is almost going to be an unkillable tank. We've seen what Shen's can do, namely a Void Boy, if you were to call one out. 5-0, split pushing lanes by himself. We'll see if Psycho Sid can bring it now 4-1-6 for himself. So had a very good lane going into this game so far.
And he's actually got to start worrying too, because once Zion gets his Liandry's complete, they'll have the Rylai's plus Liandry combo, and his percentage health burn is going to be able to take down even the tankiest of Shens.
Everybody again poised in mid, Kobe. Both of these teams are kind of afraid to fight each other right off the bat. Nobody says we're stronger than you right now. Again, that island of the laners, the solo laners I should say, Psycho Sid and Zion Spartan back to duke it out in the bottom lane now over minions, and over positioning on that lane is Vulcun, and the rest of Coast kind of organize themselves and to figure out where they can put down some wards and get that next engagement.
Yeah, it's all about Vulcun laying out the Baron side map how they want it right now. They need to take their time, clear out all the wards, and place their own very deep here so that they can make use of their 2 globals and force Coast into a bad team fight spot.
Psycho Sid, I'm keeping an eye on his position in the bottom lane because he keeps backing off of Elise. He doesn't want that cocoon from Zion Spartan to stop if there's an initiation, but I guess the team is saying we're all right for now. Go ahead and duke it out as they once again go back and forth. The taunt in the bottom lane may allow for an initiation in middle here as Zion Spartan forced to back away. Psycho Sid's free. Yeah,
he does not have the completed Liandry's yet, so the advantage here for Sid is actually going to initiate some action here in the mid.
Oh, that Ash Arrow is almost perfect if they get in this choke point again. Vulcun does not want the jungle fight right there. They, again, back off and they say, let's go for the turret. It didn't work last time.
Exactly, even though they could have had the 4 vs 5 there, because Shen scaring off Elise meant that Stand United could very well come in.
There we go. Nintendo Dex taking some shots. They are going to back off still. Mashme, the backside shifter finds himself in the back of the team. Xmithy lives in the end though.
Oh no,
Nintendo gap closes without the team.
Coast were doing a very good job of playing around the cooldowns of Vulcun there, but Nintendo didn't get the notice and went in on top of Stranglethorns.
It might have just been those I have to hit the Q things, man. You hit it on accident or something. Mashme trying to get the gauntlet down for the team to maybe initiate once again. But they get away, and Coast is forced to push here.
Lee Sin 101, you do not, in fact, have to follow up every Sonic Wave that you hit with a Resonating Strike. It feels like that.
But, dude.
Touche. Good point, Riv. Good point.
15 to 11. 7K is that gold deficit looking for Coast right now. But again, they're staying up in turrets. They're making sure global objectives are in their favor. But how much is that going to start mattering? I keep pulling back to it. It's what they have, but they haven't pressured it anymore. They're not able to win the fights, so they're not able to push the objective. So everything's going to start weighing on them even more. The moves have to be made.
And the time for making those moves is when the globals are down, which is right now. And there's a flash.
Right now, exactly. A point-blank true shot barrage uppercut.
Sorry, but it is right now. It's not going to last long. The Crystal Arrow's got another 10 seconds on it. So the re-engage here for Vulcun is going to be back up soon. And Coast, even though they got the pick off, it was picking off the support, so they still have to be a little bit worried.
We can definitely see what a non-Lich Bane TF does to a team. These guys are pushing a bit slower than, you know, the capacity they're actually bringing to the table right now. You have a Shen that's 4-1-7, you're up by 6,000 gold, and you're being pressured off of turrets because the damage isn't really there yet.
Exactly. You can always tell the team's playstyle from the way that they're building. A Twisted Fate that builds a Zhonya's into Death Cap plus Abyssal Scepter means that they're looking for baiting the team fights. They would rather draw Coast into a bad spot and pull a team fight with a numbers advantage on them by using their globals to join the fight, rather than having Twisted Fate put more damage onto turrets.
This blue build Azrael Mashme getting quite big. He is a little bit off of that last Whisper, which is going to help greatly, especially against this Psycho Sid right now, who is completely stacked as a tank. Looks like a brick wall running at you. Zion Spartan has had the pleasure of fighting with that brick wall in the bottom lane, but as no Mason, he has been pushed out of lane constantly. 34 minutes into this one, neither team is really showing the upper hand whenever there isn't a fight. They're like, we'll farm on our side until somebody makes a move.
And really, it's going to be... I'm staring at Vulcun for making the move because they're the ones with Crystal Arrow in their hands, plus Stand United. So right now, they have Vision of Zion down bottom, they have Stand United available, and Crystal Arrow available. When Zuna finally joins the team and he gets there, then they could pull off their 4 vs 5 that they so obviously want. But now, the window of opportunity has faded because John Spartan no longer down bottom with the minion wave. They don't have the vision, and it's too little too late here.
This is the new thing, the fight for Red Brush. Red Brush at 34 minutes, back and forth. We had a little bit of a ward fight. Destiny was called out. He goes to blue, and he's going to get blue buff.
Twisted Fate Destiny, worth it to get that blue buff.
You got it.
And they're the ones out of position now, and it's going to cost them a turret.
Even Reginald doing some out of this world TF ports today. Xmithy throwing down the 0. They all make it to the edge. They were just on the outside, got a good shield from Nintendo, so they didn't take too much there. They're going to keep pressuring. Good damage here.
He was just trying to clear the wave and buy time for Zion to join.
Not everybody can ride the Thresh Express, and I don't think Nintendo has his pass today. He's forced to flash away from the door of the bus. Daydreamin is left behind as the driver. He gets no consolation prize. Nintendo, the next focus. A quick hit up Ash on the slow from the Q. The volley goes out. Shifter gets caught up. Once again, these guys are just 1, 2, and 3. Only losing Xmithy.
Careful chasing after a blue Ezreal, though. They need to take this win and not chase. They don't want to press it right now. Grab a secondary reward, which would be Dragon, because Baron is too dangerous to go for. So Vulcun right now, they need to use this time on the map. We always talk about turning kills into objectives. The one open would be that Dragon, and they need to get that.
The gold lead is definitely bringing them out on top of these fights, but mentally, they aren't showing that they're mentally and physically, they aren't showing that they have a gold lead. They're fighting these very scared until they have a definitive upper hand, which is okay. That's more than what you want to do in a fight, but moves have to be made. You had that Zanya's on the Twisted Fate.
Yeah, so the reason why we saw such a disjointed fight up there top from Vulcun was because of the Destiny by Mandatory Cloud to go to blue buff. They had to wait for him to walk from the fountain to join the top, so that's why Smithy blew his ult to clear that wave, because they wanted to buy time for the next wave because of the missed Destiny there. And then as soon as Mandatory Cloud got there, we saw the initiation from Ash and a good follow-up, and they did end up going to get that Dragon I talked about.
So as you see at the top of your screen, 36 minutes, the average game length coming in for a Coast game. And you know, that means a lot of things. That means the team's capacity to play later than that. What usually happens during the game? We're going to get an inside look into that here. The Destiny goes up. There is the Twisted Fate play, but where's the gap? Where's the rest of your team? Xmithy puts himself in exact positioning. The kick used right away by Nintendo. Really not affecting the fight. The arrow comes in to finish. Continue the execution, Kobe, and it's looking grim here for Coast.
That's why he went and rushed the Zanyas, so you can get those initiators like that. Even though he didn't land the gold card before getting off the Zanyas, he played extremely safe right there and was able to dodge out any harassment, allowing Smithy to come in. And the whole point of Nunu is to be the focus and the sponge for damage. Now Daydreamin in trouble.
Daydreamin finds himself walking through a ward. Very well played and placed by Vulcun, picking themselves up another kill, and that Iceborne is going to do some good damage here. Psycho Sid forced out of the fight. Smithy's going to take damage on this. They have to be very careful here.
They do have Nunu though, so they have the damage spike. Everyone taking so much inside the Baron pit, they're trapped.
That's an 8,000 damage Baron, or health Baron right now. Here comes the Shen. Oh my gosh! That is that late game Ash utility that helps so much.
Don't mash me versus the world right now. 1 versus 5 at the Baron pit, poking with just his Mystic Shot.
All eyes on. They were able to stop Baron about 12,000 HP. The Consume Smite to come in. It will be theirs. The True Shot Barrage was used to stop them. So no chance there. It's going to be Coast now trying to recoup on this.
A sigh of relief coming out from the Vulcun squad right now as they secure a huge advantage that they should be able to turn into a push all the way through to inhibitor turrets. There goes the arrow.
Oh, again, it's just on the side of the arrow, the top of the Thresh. Is he even? No, he cleansed everything off of that beautiful simultaneous play by Mash Me and Daydream in there.
Taunt got landed right after clicking the Dark Passage, so even though he already bought his ticket and he was on the train right there, he was taking the Dark Passage. As soon as he got to the station, he tried to walk back, but since it was such a long Dark Passage, he was out of harm's way.
Nice chunk of gold in mid waiting to be farmed out here. We're going to see who that goes to. Looks like it will be Shifter's. And something that they stopped doing was getting Shifter those first initiations. Using the poke damage that they have, they're allowing themselves to get quickly bunched up, and then their poke goes to waste.
It's very hard to all-in the team with Nunu and Zyra, because those are two of the strongest counter-initiate ultimates. Talked about it in that Cloud9 game. It's so much zone control. Those two ultimates, if you stack them up sort of like a Venn diagram, control so much of the map. You can almost fill a screen with those two.
Taking stock of what's going on in these inventories, and that brick wall just turned into a cement structure for Psycho Sid. Randuin's Guardian Angel, and he even has his home guards to get back into the engagement, back into being able to get back in the lanes. Stand United's going to give him wherever he wants. He just wants that split push to be continuous.
Vulcun have to be careful with any sort of tower dive that they decide to go to. What they would much rather do is continue to make use of the globals that they chose in Champion Select and spread out Team Coast. But look at this trap play from Mandatory Cloud.
Oh, he follows the cue on that one. They're going to be able to get the Guardian Angel down here, but no, they will not, because 4 lives show up.
I feel like Coast should have all-in that and tried to burn down Mandatory Cloud before the Shen was able to arrive. But now, 2 vs 3 in the mid, they pay for it.
Using pressure in the wrong spot. You see what happens, but big damage still able to come out here. They will take that advantage on a mistake, and they go for the 1-for-1.
We just had Shifter's Charms, too powerful for Zuna right there. Followed him all the way in to the tower, and a really, really good answer for Coast. They needed that one sorely.
So the mana, or Miramon, I should say, being finished for a little bit now. The Locket of the Iron Solari picked up on Jungler, as well as the Bulwark. So they're working with a defensive armor, and they're working, or not defensive armor aura, but that shield they can use as the active, plus the magic resistance to only that Bulwark of Nintendo. And they're mainly working with magic, so that's working for them right now, even being behind a bit.
And since Twisted Fate is usually split pushing, you know, his magic damage not always there with the rest of them for the team fight, so decent adaptation there, you know, makes sense.
Take a look at this CS. 393 in the hands of ManCloud as we reach 41 minutes in the game. 349 for Mashmi, keeping on his heels right there, but Mandatory Cloud has always been known to charge that tier early, have an extreme amount of CS, and really keep himself in the game in other ways than if he's not finding those kills. And
especially when you're on Twisted Fate and you have the not only the ability to teleport around the map and AoE wave clear, but also you're the go-to split pusher for your team. You know, you better be cashing in on that.
So with that, having that go-to of actually not one, but 2 people, why aren't they try pushing, kind of like a Dignitas strategy here?
Because of the situation we just saw where Mandatory Cloud got jumped on there, it is a little dangerous.
So they actually did try.
They don't want to have to burn Stand United to save him like that. But if he is going to go down for a bush gank like that, then they'll pull it off here.
Zuna looking to pick up a little extra gold. Throwing that one out for good measure.
This is...
should be all right. Nobody else is going to be able to come up on this. Everything is up besides the 2 flashes on Mashmi and Daydreaming right now for that initiation. So it could be a good fight here for Coast. They have to utilize the poke that they have. It's not extreme poke. They have Ahri. They have they have Ezreal. So at least they can chunk a little bit of health in these engagements, because they're going in full force and it's going straight in favor of Vulcun.
Yeah. Another reason to tack on for the reason of not 3-man split pushing is it takes time for those globals to actually go off and for Mandatory Cloud and Psycho Sid to join the fight. So the first couple seconds, while Stand United is channeling and while Destiny is channeling and they haven't arrived yet, it's effectively a 3 vs 5. And the advantage for Coast that they can get out in damage output at that moment is actually a large amount. So they don't want to overextend themselves here. Vulcun definitely taking their time, and the game against Cloud9 really looming in all of their memories right now.
And the Guardian Angel, getting caught up with the Cocoon. Doesn't look like too much going to come off of that. But the Guardian Angel obviously still being a good item in itself. But do you think they focus putting that on their split pushers for the extra safety?
Feel like they should. Well, I mean, they effectively have 7 lives right now, so a team fight for them would be amazing. Even if the two split pushers come in late to the fight,
right,
then they're going to have 2 lives. So Mandatory Cloud, not only will he initiate and then Zanya's, but he's going to get right back up even if you kill him.
So it's not even for the safety, it's even if you enter into the fight late as well. Multiple just things that are going to come off of that. The Guardian Angel smart buy coming in there, and like you said, we also have Zyra kind of there. After she's gone, we'll see if they can get that true damage out. A huge wave to focus on in the bottom lane for Psycho Sid. May start the engage. This is the poke. This is great coming from Coast right now. This is exactly what they need to do.
Another reason why I love the Guardian Angels against this Coast team is because the biggest threat is that shifter burst when he uses everything he has, popping the ulti and going with Deathfire Grass. After that's burned, the second life of your Guardian Angel will bring you back up and you won't have the danger of another round of burst from shifter.
Looks like we have TF ManCloud rather going back. He does have home guards, so he'll be able to get in quite quick. He picks up the Zanyas. He picks up the Void Staff rather. Continuous damage coming in. So they're not worried about the turrets. They feel like they have that down once they win. Pretty much an ace is what they're looking for here.
I'm looking for an ace too.
But look at all the wards they've placed in that bottom
But really,
jungle.
Let's explain why it's taking so long. It's gotten down to the hardest part of closing out any game. Breaking through the last line, the inhibitor turrets are so strong and comboed with the terrain advantage of a wall outside of your base. This is the hardest part of the defense to crack. For Vulcun to get the last line of turrets down so that they can get an exposed inhibitor. And that's why it's taking them so long, because it's this at the most dangerous when you're diving inhibitor turrets.
And Kobe, you have to consider when you're Coast, you're walking anywhere in the jungle and you can get hit in the face with an arrow. So you are 200% more cautious about any step you take, even like right off the step of your base.
And they can get lit up just like by this Twisted Fate ultimate here. And they've been cornered in their own base. That bought a little bit of time for Psycho Sid to push bottom, but this is another cooldown not available, and they're going to have to rely on the Crystal Arrow for the engage. The Destiny's not going to be there.
They put both globals in the same spot for this one. It's going to look like they get Zion Spartan caught out. The red card coming in. Looks like they just do this to clear the wave. They're going to get Baron and possibly a turret, or get thwarted off of both.
Interesting choice here by Vulcun. They're forcing Coast to choose now. 4 members of Coast up by the Baron means Coast, they're daring Coast to start that Baron.
Zion Spartan cannot contest this. There's still just too much damage coming from both Psycho Sid and ManCloud.
They're starting the Baron, even against Nunu. They've taken the bait and they're going for it.
They could just stood on the ultimate on the other side. Nunu can get knocked out by Daydreamin's play. They try to get a good lockup down. It's getting saved. Zion Spartan goes for the repel. They're trying to get this Baron down still as well on the top side of the map. Zion Spartan goes down. The fight goes out. The Zyra ulti splits. The Ash arrow hits the back line perfectly. Thresh does get one to safety, but Ash is able to take him down. Zuna staying in perfect positioning here. Bloodwater eating all the Mystic shots for his AD carry, going back and forth to the fight, and they're able to take it down. But look at the base. It's being destroyed right now by Vulcun.
Beautiful little switch-up strategy, but they're not done here. Home guard's coming out.
This is going to be Psycho Sid going down. If Shifter has another Orb of Deception, does not throw it out. He's waiting on the cooldowns. There's one final kill. The Guardian Angel's up for ManCloud. He's going to be able to do this alone. There are the extra lives coming into play from the Guardian Angels. Vulcun coming up with a big win.
It took Vulcun a while, but it was an elegant finish to this game. Let me say it again. They only gave Coast 2 options there. By sending both Twisted Fate and Shen down to the bottom lane, they baited Coast into starting that Baron by telling Coast, hey, you guys have a 3 to 4 man advantage at this Baron. And we're just going to wait around the side with Zyra, who's the strongest disengage, and Nunu, who's the strongest steal potential for that Baron. And it forced Coast into making a rash decision there, and they finally were able to capitalize on it.
It's definitely a different utilization of how we've seen these strategies be run. Not a Lichbane Twisted Fate, not a counter-jungling Nunu. These guys kind of did it their own way this game.
And that was all done with Mandatory Class Destiny being down, so he wasn't even going to be leaving that. So a very nice little variation there by Vulcun.
Again, we use you see the composition of the Ashe Zyra combo being used as we kind of talk about the game a little bit. That in lane, they played that differently as well. They weren't always pushed up to turret. That Ezreal Thresh lane of Mash Me and Daydreamin was a bit aggressive, so it wasn't always, you know, Zyra and Ashe and Zyra coming out with kills in the beginning. They had to work for that, and we saw how much slower it was with just everything going on, and the safety you have to play against an Ashe arrow.
Yeah, Vulcun definitely playing for the long game there, waiting until they could take advantage of the Crystal Arrow plus the 2 teleports.
Picks and bans go in their favor once again. We've got to take a short, quick break, but when we get back and we return, Vulcun solo laners, Psychosid and ManCloud will join us to talk about their win. Plus, we'll break down highlights from the first day of the first three games of the day. This is getting easier as we're 3 games deep.